I met this woman last night who lost the diamond out of her engagement ring. And as a jewelry designer, she was expressing to me like some of the frustrations of this like cloud of unknowns in the jewelry space. What does it cost? What am I getting? Is this good value? Why is this diamond the same as that? But the prices are two different things. What are you actually paying for? And so I thought this would be a great time because if you're into the jewelry TikTok space, you know that jewelry transparency and consumer pricing is like a really hot subject right now. Everybody's talking about it. And if you're new to my page, I do high-end engagement rings in New York City, but I worked for 10 years for David Yurman Company in corporate, and then I consulted for a factory and I manufactured David Yurman's product as well as onboarded Tiffany's to that factory. So I've done the full circle as a retailer now, like a designer who sources my own stones and makes my own jewelry. From working in corporate and then consulting as a factory. So from like the before wholesale end, making the product, I'm pretty well versed in the full supply chain. So are you paying for the brand when you buy from Cartier or Tiffany's or even somebody like myself that manufactures high jewelry but is a much smaller brand? What is paying for the brand? What does that even mean? It's best to think about this mathematically. You're buying the highest percentage of getting the best. Tiffany's is a really good example because I know for a fact the standards of quality of fabricating this are really high. There's no shortcuts. You have to train the staff. You have to, you have printed manuals that you have to compare in terms of thicknesses. There are people combing over the castings to make sure there's no porosity or nothing in the setting is going to jeopardize losing that stone. And if you lose that stone, and like occasionally out of the thousands of pieces they produce, something goes wrong, they'll just fix it and replace it. I do the same thing, and I can tell you, like, profit margin, gone to the wind, like when you have to repair and replace an engagement ring. But they'll just do it because they're a brand of quality. So you're buying, like a sure bet, it's a double blue chip stock. It's buying in the S&P 500. You know it's going to be there in 30 years' time. Like, that is what you're buying from a luxury brand. You're buying the reliability percentage. Yes, there are chances that you might get something that you don't like. And the further down the food chain you go, the more risk you're onboarding. That's why getting to know a jeweler or getting a good referral is your best bet to circumvent figuring out the problems. So what are you paying for when you buy Tiffany-like jewelry? You're just paying for less of a percent chance of all of the stuff that Tiffany's offer, basically, or Cartier or even JPX. If and there is actually a few people who do JPX-like products, so I'm really flattered. You're getting a setting that is probably pretty good, but it definitely did not have the kind of instruction manuals and jewelry training that went alongside what I know went into the Tiffany's run. Again, that's why I think percentage is a better way of looking at it. And the nuances of making it really beautiful. If you look at Tiffany or Cartier settings, they're really crisp, and the details, the devil's in the details, and they do it really, really well. You're buying that tiny difference in aesthetic quality, which makes it look luxury or not so luxury. So you're getting a lesser percent chance of that happening. Higher percent chance that that you might have some structural integrity issues in the setting, in the mounting. Like, Cartier will literally comb over under microscopes, like 50 times zoom, to make sure there's no porosity or scratches under the settings. Things that like don't even matter to the consumer, they're doing. So what about the engagement rings where the stone is exactly the same as the Tiffany's one, and you're looking at like the Tiffany-like option, which is half the price, and you're looking at the Tiffany's option. What's the difference there? What are you paying for there? Tiffany's, you should look this up on their website, and I've done my homework here. Tiffany's are kind of the best in the industry for ethically sourced stones. They like no one gives them enough credit for this. I know I'm like the Tiffany's champion here. It's just I want my brand to be at that level. So I'm trying to figure all this out, and I do my homework, and I have lots of friends in the industry, but they own their own mines. I think they cut their own stones, but their footprint, ethically sourcing program of the stones is really second to none. So again, you're buying a guarantee. Like, no other company goes to the lengths they do to ethically source their stones and make sure that you're getting the best quality, the best cut proportions. They are doing everything they can to make it perfect for you. You're just buying a percentage. Can you find somebody who has that exact stone that's like just as good and, ethically sourced, footprint, tracing it back to Canada? Yeah, you can. It's just you're paying for removing the homework of figuring it out yourself, which is hard to do. So if you just want a diamond on a beautiful band and you're not into the little details, find that local jeweler, find that 47th Street jewelry store, find that TikToker that you like and haggle the absolute shit out of them because you're really only going to be paying for the diamond. Have a look at the bands and settings. I mean, I don't think if you're not into design and quality, don't pay it any mind. Get a warranty, get insurance, and just get a good price on a diamond. Keep in mind that everybody has a margin that they have to make to stay alive and run the business. Like people can't just import you diamonds and sell them to you at cost. They'll go broke. So if you really push somebody on a price and then you go to jeweler B and you're starting to compare GIA report 1 to GIA report 2 and 3, they're going to find you a stone that looks exactly the same as that GIA report, but on their end costs less. So they're going to give you the value that you want, but not everybody is going to just consume it at their own loss. You've got to keep that in mind. So maybe you're getting the better price, but I would seriously consider thinking about both options and trying to unpack what's happening. Sometimes the girdle thickness is a little deeper on that cheaper stone. Sometimes the depth of the stone, you've got a bit of light leakage. Sometimes the inclusion is in a much more noticeable place. Sometimes the color, there is a tint and it's a bit more emphasized on one corner. There are a bunch of ways that you can find stones that aren't as preferable, but the consumer's not going to know the difference. So if you're really pushing someone on price, you might just be buying less quality, and maybe that's what you wanted in the first place. You just didn't know it. Think about this. So when you go to Tiffany's, you eliminate all that. All their stuff is cut to the same beautiful standard. A GIA report from Tiffany's is going to be like a much more top level stone versus a stone where the girdle's like crazy thick, or there's an extra facet somewhere. There's just less of a percent chance. It doesn't mean you can't do it. Think about it as investing in a better percentage.